Good afternoon, everyone. So, are you all ready with your reference book and pen? Yes. Okay. We will continue. The last class we were discussing. So, what is the name of the chapter? Yes. Yeah, the first chapter is about resource and development. Resource and development. Resources are not using efficiently. We are not using the resources efficiently and judicially. It's not. Absolutely, it's need of judicial use of resources now because it is not available abundantly. It is not available unlimited. It's a limited sources we are getting. It is not any resources except the sun, water, and the air. Except that the land resources is limited resources we are getting. It is not. In the last class we were discussing about that. So because of many factors, many reasons, the resources are getting depletion. And in the future we may face a problem, and in the future our planet, whole planet will be under the problem because of indiscriminate uses we discuss. For that we need to have the resource planning, the sustainable development planning, and resource planning we should have. So in the last class we discussed the resource planning. So in India we have 3 steps in a resource planning to develop any resources. To have a sustainable, to make a sustainable development in any other resources, we should have a plan. For that we have 3 plans, 3 steps in India. Is not. What are those first step? What is the first step? Is identification and inventory of resources across the region of a country. Identification. We should identify the resources first. We should make a list of resources which is available in the particular places. Is not. Then across the whole country. Then second is about like evolving the planning structure. Endowed with is provided with. Evolving is like developing the planning structure. After making inventory is listing out the resources which is available in the particular places, we will be having a planning. So we should develop the planning. How? By endowing, that is by providing the particular skills, technology, and a particular institution setup for implementing the resource planning. It's the second step, and we are going under that. This we are being practicing in India. Then third step, matching the resource planning with overall resource development, overall development plan. In the India, we will be having a particular development plan every 5 years, like a 5-year plan. What is a 5-year plan? There, so what we are having a resource planning, so that should match with this 5-year plan. So that's what the third 3 steps we discussed in the last class is about resource planning. Now we go for the land resource. Land resource, you know about the land resources is not in the 8th class we discussed. Now we discuss land utilization. Utilization. What do you mean by utilization? Utilization, using, is not. So it's about utilizing, land utilization. So for what purpose or for what activities we are using the lands? So there are many, is not. There are many other factors like activities which we are using this land, like land utilized or utilizing. Land utilizing for different purposes. So what are those? So you know most of the landmass of India is covered by water, like a forest. Is most of the or most percent of earth, like most in the earth surface is covered by water. Then in the landmass, what you are seeing, most percent of landmass is covered by the forest. It was earlier, but not now. Because we have cleared that area for urban construction, many other things is not. So here in India, the most percent of Indian landmass is covered by the forest. The first one, it's about the forest. Then, other than this forest, the land is used for like a land available for non-active like. So you can say the uncultivated land. Uncultivated land, otherwise land available for non-agricultural activity, otherwise uncultivable lands. Otherwise, the land available or not available for agriculture. Land not available for agriculture. Otherwise, uncultivable land. In under the uncultivable land, we have further divisions like a barren land, and wastelands. What do you mean by barren land? What is the barren land? Barren, like the land is used for nothing. And either for agriculture or for construction of buildings, it's nothing for it's used for nothing. It's for some barren land. We may say this barren land. You can see this barren land in the western part of India, like in Rajasthan, Gujarat, in some part of northern part of India. There, the land is used for nothing there. So because the soil in that area is not fertile, and the land is not plain land to construct any other building or for the transportation to make use of the transportation facility, the land is not plain. So the land might be will be having filled, it will be filled with the rocks, some stones, and unwanted plants. And if you construct, after clearing all those things, if you construct a building, also you will not be having what you call the suitable thing for settled over there because of some other physical or natural activities. That's about a barren land. Then the wasteland, and the same, it's not used for cultivation for any other things, like a grazing lands. And Gomala we say, so it's the pasture or grazing land comes under this wasteland. And second division under this uncultivable land, like land used for land put under uncultivation. Like other, for example, land used for other activities. The buildings, construction of buildings, roads, and the settlement, industries. It's an example of this land put under uncultivation activities, land put under non-agricultural activity. So land used for different activities. So all these three sentences are meaning same. So this uncultivated land, like the most of the lands after this forest, these lands are used. After the forest, we have the net sown area, like the agriculture land. The most percent of the land is used for the agricultural activity after this forest cover. So it's an uncultivated land. Then third, the activity, for activity what we are using is for the other uncultivated land. Other uncultivated land. So here land under the permanent pastures and grazing. So here other uncultivated land like permanent pastures, grazing. We know like growing the crops, grasses, growing crops and grasses as a fodder crop for animals, to feed animals. It's called as pasture and grazing. So there are many other lands, means like most number of acres are used after the agricultural land. They are used for growing the pastures, grazings, like fodder crops. So that's another one activities what we are doing or what we are using for the land. Then land put under miscellaneous tree crops grows. So this land put under miscellaneous like a different varieties of trees crop grown. So in that particular land, the different tree crops are grown. This land is not includes in the net sown area. We will be discussing about the net sown area. Net sown area means like agricultural land. The total area which is grown like crops, more than one type of crop grown in one agriculture area is called as net sown area. So here, this tree or growing of this miscellaneous tree will not come under that particular activity. It's a different. So these are the three reasons for what you are using the land. forest, then uncultivated lands, other uncultivated lands. So in under the uncultivated land, we have these two things. So these are the three activities. Then we have two more. One is about follow land. Right on this concept, we'll go for next two. Land are used or utilizing. And now also we are utilizing land for this many activities like that. Most of the most of the land is covered with the forest, is not. But now it is depleting. We are not getting much land under the forest cover because of many other activities. That's like we are discussing here. The second is uncultivated land or land not available for agriculture. Otherwise, uncultivable land. Land not available for agriculture. Otherwise, uncultivable land. So in under this we have two more points. Two more sub-concepts in under this, like the reasons. It's about barren land and wasteland. Land is not used for agricultural activity. It's uncultivated land, barren land, wasteland. It's not suitable for growing crops. Then land put under uncultivable activity, like uncultivation. That means we are using the land for different activities like constructing roads, buildings, and the settlement like dams. So these all are the examples for this second concept. Then in the third concept, the third factor, you may say the third factor is about other than uncultivated land. Other uncultivated land is like permanent pastures and grazing. The land is permanently fixed to grow the grazing like fodder crops for animals. So that loses capacity. Know about all those things we discuss. So this is another one reason. Then the land put under miscellaneous tree crop grows. Some of the lands now for business purpose, it are grown like a commercial crops. These trees are grown as like commercial crops. It comes under this other uncultivated land. So this part or this activity will not included in the net zone area. Is it over? Yes, we'll go for two more concepts or two more activities or the factors which involves in this. The follow land. Fourth one, it's about follow land. In under this follow land, we have two more. So we'll discuss what is this follow land. First is about the current follow land. Current follow land. Here, follow land means it's agricultural land actually, but in an agriculture year, nothing has shown. We are not growing any crop. We are used for nothing. Like it's agricultural land. Earlier, previously, we were making use of that land for growing crops. Now, for one agriculture year, we have sown nothing there in the agricultural field. This is what is the current follow land. For 1 year or less than 1 year, the land sown once or less than once in one agricultural year. One agricultural year. So here the land which is not cultivated for 1 year, otherwise less than 1 year, but it is agricultural land. You may cultivate for next year. So it's called current follow land. For that year it's used for nothing. Then we have another type of lands like other than current follow land. Other than current follow land. Like here, the land like agriculture field, same it is agriculture field, but nothing has sown for the year of 1 to 5 years. In between 1 to 5 years, nothing is sown in this year in this agriculture field. It's called as other than current fallow land. So did not sow up to 1 to 5 years or 1 to 5 agriculture for 1 to 5 agricultural year. It's other than current fallow land. So in this fallow land we have two divisions or two types. One is current fallow land, sown only once in agriculture year or less than once. Like suppose either it's sown or not. We can say you can write like this: it's not sown, did not sown once or less than once. Sown once or less than once or not sown. Yes. So here the land is sown or grown, crops are grown like in 1 to ones in an agriculture years, otherwise it is not grown. It is left barren or it is left unused for 1 year. That means one agriculture year is called as current fallow land. So other than current fallow land, it's nothing is sown in that area. Nothing is sown in that area for 1 to 5 years. Less than 5 years, 1 to 5 years, nothing is sown in that agriculture year. In the 5 years, till 5 years. But it's agricultural land. After 5 years, they may use that land for cultivation. So it's called as other than cultivation or cultivable land. Fourth. Then net sown area. Net sown area. Like grown or more than once in an agriculture or agricultural year, and plus net sown area is called gross crop area. So here the net sown area is the fifth activity. For fifth activity, what we are using this land for. So here the grown more than once in agriculture year, like crops are grown, multiple crops it may be. In one agriculture year you will be getting 3 seasons in one agriculture year. So there the crops are grown. Suppose 3 crops or more than 3 crops are grown in one agriculture year. Plus net sown area is called as gross crop area. Net sown area is like a total number of area which is under the cultivation, under this agriculture activity. It's net sown area. Plus and this growing crops more than once in an agriculture year is called as gross crop area. For these all the reasons we are making use of this land. So that's what 5 important factors what we discuss. That factors that explains for what we are making use of a land. Isn't it? The first one is about a forest. Then the land not available for agriculture. Second one is land not available for agriculture. In under that we have 2 more concepts which explains about this. It's about barren land and wasteland. Next one, and land used for other activities like building roads and building the settlements. Then the third important point is about the other uncultivable land, other uncultivated land or uncultivable land, like the permanent pastures, grazing land, and the land put under growing miscellaneous trees. That's what we discussed. Now Fourth one, what we discussed about a fallow land. In under the fallow land, we have two. One is current fallow land. That in this current fallow land, we have sown nothing for 1 year, one agricultural year, or less than agricultural year. Otherwise, we have sown only once. In one agricultural year, we can sow for 3 times. It's not because in one agricultural year, we have 3 cropping patterns, seasons. There in that, we sown only once, and rest of the 2 seasons we are not grown, or we are not sown anything. So that's about current fallow land. So here, in other than the current fallow land, we have not sown anything for 1 to 5 years of agriculture year. So it's called as other than current fallow land. So there, next is about a sown area. After the forest, most of the land surface of India is used for this sown area. Then transportation settlements we have. So here, so next sown area is about the growing more than once in an agricultural year. So in agricultural year, as I told you, we will have 3 cropping patterns, cropping seasons, agricultural seasons. There shown more than 3 agriculture, like more than 3 crops. Means 4 or 5 crops, plus net sown area is called as gross crop area, total crop area. That means gross is called like O. So this all the 5 factors or the 5 reasons what we are making use this land. Right now, is it over? Okay. So in under this land, we have another point or another concept to discuss. It's about land use. So what do you mean by land use? Utilizing the land. It's a land use. Very simple. Land use, it's not. It's efficient and proper use of land is land use. Now the land degradation. So there, I think it's only enough writing this about the concept of land use. It's very general, and you can create your own definition for this land use. So I don't kill my time. So land use, land degradation. So before that, in under the land use, there are factors which influences in land use. What are those factors which make us to use the land, or what are those factors which affecting to use the land? Factor affecting in land use. Factors. What are those factors which affecting to in land use? You know the meaning of land use? Utilizing the land for different purpose, different activities. It's a land use. So what are those factors which affects? Effect and affect is a 2 different word. Effect is about the problem. After that, what do you get some problem? Affect means the causes, which makes influences. It's an affect. So here, the factor affecting the land uses, there are 2 factors. What are those 2 factors? One is natural factors, and yes, you can guess another one, human factors. Human factor, because the same thing we discussed in the 8 class. Natural factors and human factors. In under the natural factors, what are those? Topography. So topography is nothing but land features. Undulation of a land. Land features is a topography. Relief features of a land. Different landforms, physical features. It's the synonyms of this topography. Topography is land features. We discuss how this factor affects the land use. Then the climatic factors. Then the fertility of soil. Fertility of soil. These are the 3 factors, the natural factors. So we will write this in this discussion. Then human factors. The population density. Population Then technology. Technology or technological capacity. Capacity of a technology and the population density and the culture and tradition and other activities. So these all the factors which influences in land use. Natural factors, topography. Topography is the really features different land forms on the earth's surface. Topography. So how it affects? Suppose if we get a plain topography, we settle there, we tend to settle there because the plain topography that supports for growth of crops like agricultural activity. Then we can get a transportation facility easily there. We can construct our house, settlement we can have there. Is not. So the plain topography, plain relief features, it helps and it influences. Is not. And plateaus like its undulation. Somewhat it's a tableland from which is elevated from the sea level. It's a plateau. We know that. So this plateau land, it has a deposition of minerals, more minerals. So there we can get a more industries, mining activities there. Is not. Then in the mountain areas, we can see the less inhabitation there in the mountain areas. The people they don't want to stay or settle in the mountain areas. Most of the people. Why? They can construct a house. Most of the people, some fellows, they have constructed a home there in the mountain ranges. For example, in Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, there they are having the houses, but we cannot see much as like we are having in the Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. In the northern plain, we have a more population. In comparing with that, it is very less there in the northern part of Himalaya. It's not like in the Himalayan mountain ranges. Why? Because it's a very steep slope. We can construct a house, but it's very difficult for the transportation facility and other things for agriculture and many other things. Not. So that reason we don't. So the plain areas that mainly attracts the settlement of people and for other activities. For that reason we get more population here. In this plain area, this topography of plain that influences for more land use. Then climatic factors. High temperature, low temperature. The most of the people, we don't want to stay in a Rajasthan for a longer. We can visit that as like a tour, as like we are going for a tour. It's not visiting places, we can visit that, but we cannot stay there in Himalaya, like Rajasthan. We don't want there in the center of Rajasthan because that area prevails with a high temperature throughout the year. That is a worst climatic conditions what we have in the Himalayan mountain ranges. Always it will prevail by very low temperature because it's covered by the ice and the blowing of wind. It's somewhat very cool, isn't it? And high rainfall, that area will be avoided by the people settlement, the high rainfall area. So the area which is having plain and the area which receives moderate temperature, like a moderate rainfall, there that attracts the people to settle there, isn't it? So that's about the climatic factor. Also, it's one of the responsible, or it influences, or it affects for the land use. Then fertility of the soil. From ancient period, you know about the civilization. First civilization which has started on the bank of river because for the availability of water and also climatic conditions, it will be somewhat cool and the topography will be plain there in the river's valley, and the fertility of soil will be more because of continuous availability of water. Is not. So people they tend to settle in the place where they get a more fertility of the soil because more percent of a population in the world are dependent on agriculture activity. Because the main source of food will get from that through the agriculture activity. So that reason the farmers they need the soil fertility of a fertile soil for growing crops. So it's the basic one. Absolutely, they tend to settle in this area which they get a fertile soil. That's about the natural factors which affect for the land use. Then human factors, population. Earlier in the ancient period, all other every surface of earth is not used by the humans in the ancient period. Most of the earth's surface was covered by the forest because we had less population at that time, so that reason the people they didn't use much. But now most of the every place, almost every places except the Antarctica and Greenland and Russia, there except such a places, every place is under the use by human being for different activities. You know how it is happening? Because of more population. When the population increases, demand increases, then we'll start to make use of every resources. That's what is happening. Then other technological capacity. We discuss about the resources playing there. That resource, when the thing can be able to accessible to this technology by using a technology, it's called as a resource. That's what we discussed. Now, as the population increased, as the civilization increased, we got a technology. With the use of technology, we are making use of every places. Earlier, the people like ancient people, they were not settled in the mountain ranges, but now we are settling there. Is it not? Because of technology. We know we have created, means we have chopped the trees and we have flattened, means we have made the plain area in the mountain slopey areas by cutting the mountains. Is it not? It's all happened because of these technologies. Now, about China, there in the Japan, there is some flood prone area and earthquake prone area is there in that earthquake zone, earthquake prone area is there in the Japan. But the people are staying there. They know once in a month or twice in a month they will get a flood, they will get a earthquake. Even though there are people staying there. How? Only because of this technology. They have constructed the house and the home in such a way when even if they get an earthquake or flood, it will not affect them. It's happened because of these technologies. Then culture and tradition. As the culture increases, people they want to settle there, that area which they practice the same culture. It's another one factor in the tradition, So these are all the factors which affect the land use. Then the degradation of a land. What are the causes for degradation of a land? Human factors. And as well as natural factors. Same, human factors like afforestation, we are doing afforestation, mining, overexploitation, using of land for every activities, mainly the overexploitation. Then the natural factors like earthquake, flood, landslides. These all are causes, reasons for having land degradation. So we are getting degradation in the land. For that, we should have a particular methods to conserve the land. It's not because we are all getting all the resources on the land. Land is of first and foremost resources for getting all the resources. It may be soil resources, any other resources you will get from the land. Everything is there on the land because for that reason we need to conserve the land for first. Is not. For present as well as for the future generation, land is very much important. For that we should have particular methods for conserving the land. Then only we can take out our earth from the danger zone. Is it not? We should protect our earth. It's our duty. Is it not? So we should have a judicious use of a land for any other activity. We should have judicious use and efficient use of a land because it's limitedly available. But we are making unlimited uses. We are extracting unlimited exploitation from that land. So it's not good. So that will continue with the land conservation measures in the next class. Now what we discuss? We discussed about land utilization, land use and the factor affecting use of land. These are the three concepts we discussed. Only two concepts. Land use is not a matter because people. Land use and using of a land for different activity, different purpose. It's land use. Is not. So there is no need of writing that. Then land utilization we discussed 5 points. Then factor affecting for land use, 2 factors. Human factors, natural factors, that's what we discussed 2 concepts. In next class what we will discuss, we will continue with the land conservation measures. Is that clear? Okay.